Welcome. I am Anne, I am on, and you're watching Video. I've been watching a lot of nostalgia content recently, and it's gotten me thinking a lot about my childhood. Whether that's a good or bad thing, we'll find out. We all have those obscure childhood memories that range from being super nostalgic to so vague that you're not even sure if it's real or not. At least I hope we do, or else my brain is personally gaslighting me, girl boss style. Today I want to dive into really random but impactful things from my childhood, like an iceberg of my early experiences, but like out of order, because I'm going to start from like furthest back to most recent. Now my earliest memory goes way back. I think about it a lot because if it's a legitimate memory, it would have happened around 2 years old. Now, could this old dream be posing as an imposter memory? Could this memory be a little sus? Yes, but I do think it's a memory and not a dream for a few reasons. So like I said, it would have happened when I was around 2 years old, specifically when I went to visit my dad's side of the family in Scotland. I remember my outfit, which is not something I ever remember from dreams, but I was wearing this little knit sweater that I have pictures of myself in as well. If I can find a picture, I'll put it up. If not, I'll do a beautiful artist rendition of it. Also in this dream, I remember being short. I was in some kind of living room, I think, and everybody was sitting down on couches and I was still having to look up at people. So I was like just a little guy. It was my birthday probably, I was little. Anyway, what I was doing is I had this little pink plastic teacup set that I remember playing with in my later childhood as well, like 4 to 6 years old. I played with that tea set all the time, and that's what I was serving people, was like fake tea in this little teacup set. Yeah. And of course everybody was smiling and saying thank you, like it's a little kid passing out fake tea. That's like the cutest shit ever. And I also think it was the moment I became a severe people pleaser. So that's my earliest memory. It's a very short one, serving fake tea to my distant relatives at the tender age of 2. So let's move on to another less wholesome childhood memory. At about 6 years old, I went to visit my mom's side of the family in Thailand. And as you would expect, Thai people speak Thai. And I was unfortunately never taught Thai. The only other kids there were my cousins, and they were way older than me at the time. I assume they would have been older than 14, probably closer to 16 though. And again, I was 6 or 7 years old at the time. For some reason, my parents thought, yeah, it's fine. Let the cousins take our daughter to wherever. And now it's not like I don't trust my cousins. You know, I don't think that they have harm intended for me. They don't speak English. I don't speak Thai. There's a little communication gap there in case I need to like get information across. I can't. So they take me to what I can only assume is their friend's house. Again, communication gap. Anyway, we all gathered in this small living room around a TV and they put on a movie. What movie, you may ask? Ju-on. Fucking Ju-on. Holy shit. The scene of the grudge lady dragging herself down the stairs lives in my brain, not just rent-free, but against my will. I also think this is the precise moment where I developed anxiety. This video wasn't supposed to be a deep dive into the root of all my psychological trauma, but it just might be. So obviously I was very scared of this movie. Couldn't imagine why. And all the other kids were laughing at me, which at the time I thought they were assholes. But honestly, if I was in that situation and I was their age, I'd probably be laughing too. That's really hilarious. Most of the movie is like in a vault, so to speak. So most of the imagery is not in my head anymore. But what is there is there. It really is. Also, this is afterwards. We got there via like a moped. I don't remember the trip there, but I remember going back. I had an iron grip on the bars because I was so scared of falling off of that thing. So I also don't like riding on open air vehicles. Thailand's a scary place, man. I can't wait to go back. Merrie Melodies is kind of like super early Looney Tunes. I know that most of the cartoons that I watched would have originally been made in like the 30s to 40s. I had a VHS that was like a compilation of a bunch of Bugs Bunny episodes, which I refound a couple years ago on YouTube and had so much fun rewatching because it's amazing how many details I remember about these. Then again, I did watch these tapes hundreds of times. And every time I would watch these cartoons, I would ask my mom for a carrot so I could be like Bugs Bunny. And I'd be like, what's up, Doc? Popeyes walked so Bugs Bunny could run. No one is topping Bugs Bunny in the making kids eat their vegetables department. And alongside Merrie Melodies, there were some other cartoons, but the most impactful one that wasn't a Merrie Melody was called Little Audrey. And it's like this 7-minute cartoon of this girl getting like transported to a dessert world where she has to stop a forced wedding between a devil cake and a cake lady who's supposed to be marrying a gingerbread man instead. Intense stuff. Anyway, I was scared of the devil cake because he had a pointy pitchfork and he didn't respect women's choices.
His wife? She's mine. Mine!
Very scary. Also, as a grown adult, I love kitschy aesthetics and objects, and I'm pretty sure that love comes from watching these super old cartoons. Anything with like that 30s to 50s like animation style where it's like rough, but you can tell a lot of love went into it. It's just so nostalgic for me. Ello were these really cool acrylic plastic playsets. They truly affected me. To this day, I love clear acrylic objects. Came in different shapes and colors, and you connected them with these little blocks with slits in them. And I'm constantly fighting the urge to not buy a set on eBay. I want it so bad. I never had them myself. It was my neighbor who had them, but every time I went to her house, we would play with them. Also, look at the little characters. They're so ugly. They're so weird looking, but they have so much personality. I love it. If I get 1 like on this tweet, I'll buy the set. A little side tangent and throwing back to a comment I made earlier. Nowadays, most of the content I peruse is on YouTube. And I'll typically find like 5 super entertaining videos and I'll rewatch them until I get sick of them. And then I'll move on to the next set of videos where I will do the same thing in an endless cycle. But I also don't really watch things. I'll usually have them playing in the background. But going over my childhood memories, I realized I did this a lot. Now, it was mostly because of limited resources because I didn't have cable as a child. And I had a bunch of VHS tapes because Blockbuster closed and my dad went and got every tape he could physically carry. We had a lot of tapes and we still do. There's of like 2 boxes. They probably have like 100 VHS tapes each. I'm not exaggerating. He literally cleared out that Blockbuster. Vicious. VHS tapes were these plastic bricks that you could rewind by hand if you were an extremely disturbed child. I wonder what that's like. Anyway, my point is I would rewatch these videos over and over again. Gotta love the safety of knowing what's gonna happen before it happens. Continuing in the line of VHS related memories.
Care Bears countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1.
I had the 1985 Care Bears movie on tape and I rewatched the shit out of it. At first when I was thinking about it, I thought I had like maybe season 1 on tape and I watched a bunch of different episodes, but then I Googled the movie and the screenshots I saw were all from the same movie. I'm like, oh wait, all these memories come from the movie. I don't really remember the plot and any memories of the movie are just still frames in my mind. Maybe I should watch it.
Care Bears countdown. 4, 3, 2.
So I rewatched part of it. It's really amazing how many different shots I remember of this movie. Like every 10 seconds I'd be like, oh my God, I remember that. Oh my God, I remember that. Oh my God, I remember that. But I'm only remembering these things because I'm seeing them again. So it's almost like the memories are in my brain, but this movie is the key to unlocking them. Also, there's some strong Christian undertones in this film that I did not pick up consciously as a child. I wasn't raised in any particular religion. I'm personally an agnostic right now, but where I live is very Catholic. So I get the references. I just don't partake of them. Also, I'm still in love with the aesthetics of this movie. It's so like unapologetically girly and the backgrounds are so beautifully done. It's like bright but kind of pastel colors and it's overflowing with positivity. Again, I got 30 minutes into the film and it's 1 hour and 10 minutes, I think, something like that. I will not watch the rest for this video, maybe in my free time, but until then.
Penguins are very funny birds.
Scamper the Penguin is a 2D animated Soviet Union Japanese crossover about a penguin named Scamper. That's right, I said Soviet Union. I barely know her. This movie I've seen more recently due to pure happenstance that me and my friend both watched it as children, independent of each other. Like, this is a pretty obscure movie, I'd like to say. I've only ever seen it on VHS because I had it on VHS. And also, now it says it's in English on the Wikipedia page, but the first time I rewatched this movie a couple of years ago, I swear to God, it said there was only a Russian and Japanese translation, and I definitely watched it in English. So I was a little scared. I rewatched this movie a lot as a kid as well. I really wanted to eat those little coin cracker things that the penguins were eating. I want them so bad. What are they? A crumb. of whatever the fuck they were eating. I want it. This movie, though, is really wild. Let me read from the list. Scamper gets attacked by birds and sea lions, kidnapped by poachers, caged up. He watches his brethren get shot as they try to defend their penguin colony. And in the Soviet Union cut, Scamper's dad is shot to death. And we see it. Scamper is not affected enough by this, in my humble opinion. Of course, I watched the English cut, and in the English cut, there is no blood whatsoever. So seeing the other version of this movie gives the movie a lot more stakes. It's entertaining, if for nothing else, than the sheer horror and apathy of Mother Nature. Now, stop me if I should get a therapist, but I remember my childhood in two parts: pre-divorce of my parents and post-divorce of my parents. We are now entering the post-divorce era, where I would have been 8 and up. Right when the memories are starting to become more concrete. That's concrete, baby. These memories are a little less obscure, but they still had a big impact on me, so I want to talk about them. Also, a big thing about post-divorce is I finally had access to cable television. I grew up in Hawaii, meaning I was, depending on time of year, 2 to 3 hours behind the programming block set by mainland time. So stuff like Adult Swim, Nick at Night, typically started around 9 to 10 p.m. mainland time, but for me, that would usually be 7 to 8 p.m. Also, my parents didn't understand that some content shouldn't be watched by children, which was great for me. I watched a lot of stuff I wasn't supposed to. It explains more than it should. For this one, I have to tell a little bit of backstory. This is a very recent revelation. While scrolling through Twitter, I saw a picture of this guy, and I froze solid. The air sucked out of my lungs as I looked into his baggy eyes. Where do I know you from? I scoured the comments for his name because I had no idea what it was. I just knew his face. I found the name. Pufnstuf. That's right. I remember that name. Straight to Google. No, this can't be. I don't recognize the show he's from or any of the other characters. See, I know Pufnstuf, but not from his own show. Equations started running through my brain. My nervous system was shot. What else could I know this obscure character from? I searched the internet the best I could, but the only thing I could find was the original show that he was in. Or so I thought. Something clicked. I knew that I knew it from parody. And what network was doing parody the most at this time? Adult Swim. So I looked up Pufnstuf, Adult Swim. I even looked up Pufnstuf, Robot Chicken. Put a pin in Robot Chicken, by the way. But no results, nothing. Out of sheer desperation, I took to Tumblr and I asked people, where do I know this guy from? I knew I didn't know him from the original show. I don't recognize that show at all. I got a few responses, which is way more than I expected, by the way. I really didn't think anybody would know what I was talking about. But like an angel from the heavens telling me not to be afraid, this Tumblr user came to me and told me it was from an episode of fucking George Lopez.
Oh my God! It's Pufnstuf!
The George Lopez Show. I don't remember the premise of this episode. I refuse to look it up. But this screenshot was all I needed to see. I knew this is where I saw Pufnstuf from. I was transported, nay, thrown back in time. I heard the cowbell, first in a whisper, then in a roar. Lowrider played. George Lopez is frustrated with his kids because they don't know who Pufnstuf is. How do they not know what Pufnstuf is? And I agree. It's Pufnstuf. It's fucking Pufnstuf. How do you not know who he is, you fucking imbecile? Anyway, yeah. Apparently I know Pufnstuf from the George Lopez shows. What are the odds? So, remember that pin? Robot Chicken aired on Adult Swim. Maybe it still does. I don't care enough to check. And it was a very standout piece of media from my childhood, mostly because it was stop motion animation, one of the most grueling forms of media I've ever seen. Also, it had this very dark, punchy type of humor that was just perfect for my age range. But one sketch in particular had me, how do you say, fucked up. The Cabbage Patch Chucky sketch. Pretty sure this is where I got my fear of inanimate objects coming to life. Now, I don't have that fear as an adult as much, but the concept of it freaks me out. And if it were to happen to me in real life, I'd have issue with it. I swear to God, I couldn't sleep the night I saw this. I was so scared. And to this day, I can't look at Cabbage Patch Kids without thinking about Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken also most definitely fed into some teenage edginess. Now, keeping in line with things I watched when I was too young to have any business watching them.
Fuck, motherfuck, Motherfucker.
My final obscure memory, the first time I watched this movie, I was definitely between 10 and 11 years old. This movie's rated R, and I had the extra uncut version, so to speak. This is a stoner movie to end all stoner movies. The comedy is so dumb and of its time, and I love it. I love this movie so much. But it's like the crown on my early childhood. I've seen this movie more times than I can count, and I can count at least to 10. I would laugh at jokes and references I didn't even understand. I would do Jay's little rap at the beginning. I would scream with Silent Bob, "The sign on the back of the car says Critters of Hollywood, you dumb fuck!" Also, this movie introduced me to the song Jungle Love, which is one of the boppiest bops to ever have bopped. Morris Day is so slutty in this one. Like, he really went off. Now, of course, a lot of my love for this movie is purely nostalgia based. I think that if I'd watched this movie, say, for the first time today, probably wouldn't like it as much. But I do. I love it a lot. Kevin Smith is a madman. Well, that's the end. At least I think. I believe as time goes on, I'll remember other things from childhood and feel like Father Time himself just backhanded me into the Stone Age. But for now, that's all I have to say. So thanks for listening if you made it this far. Like, comment, and subscribe before we all succumb to the merciless march of time. I have been Anne, I have been on, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!